Alright, lesson 10. It's a review of factoring trinomials. So, of the form x squared plus bx plus c. Alright, here's an example. If you'll remember earlier how we did with FOIL. And when we FOILed this out, we got a trinomial that looked like this. Now we're going to learn how to reverse this process. We're going to go from here to here. Alright, a quadratic trinomial is a trinomial of degree 2. Highest exponent is 2. Alright, first of all, we're going to look for, this is sort of a template for factoring a trinomial, and what we're going to do is we're going to identify the signs, and actually it's the sign of the last term, and there's 3 possible cases when you're factoring as far as your sign uses goes when factoring. Alright, so this is the first case, and we're looking at this third sign here. When our third sign is positive, what that means is when we factor, both our signs are the same. So this means our factors have the same sign. And this tells you what sign they have. So positive, last term, the constant is positive, so that means these signs are the same. And the middle term tells you what sign you use. So positive and positive means we have positive, positive in the parentheses. Alright, so now we know the signs in the parentheses. We're going to do factoring. First, whatever variable we're using goes in the first slot in each parentheses. And now, since it's positive and positive, that means we are looking for 2 numbers that multiply together to give us 2. So that would be 1 times 2. And they have to, since there's a plus in front of it, they have to add up to give us 3. And 1 plus 2 equals 3, so it's 1 and 2. Alright, here's one for us to try, but I think maybe we should try this together. So first of all, if I'm going to factor 2 parentheses, this means they have the same sign. This tells me the sign they have, so it's both positive. Then I have an x and an x, and I'm looking for 2 numbers that multiply together to give me 12. And here is all my factors of 12. And they have to, because this is a plus, they have to add up to give me 7, which would be 3 and 4. And it doesn't matter which order I put them in. This is the same thing as that above, as this above. Multiplication's associative. It doesn't matter which one I write first. Alright, here we go. Case 2, where I have a negative sign and a positive sign. Alright, now remember the positive sign means that my factors have the same sign, and this tells me what sign they have. Same sign, they're both negative. So then I put in my x and my x, and remember, I'm looking for my factors of 2, that last term, 1 times 2, and they have to add up, since that's a plus, to give me 3. So it's 1 and 2, so 1 and 2 go in the parentheses. And remember, it doesn't matter which order I put it in, and I can always FOIL it out to check it. Here's one that we'll do together. Alright, we're factoring a trinomial, so it's going to go in 2 parentheses. This is plus. That term at the end, the one hanging out the rear, is positive, so it means my factors have the same sign. This tells me what sign they have. They're both negative. I put in x and x. And now I'm looking for factors of 27. And this is all 1 times 27 and 3 times 9. And because there's a plus in front of this 27, it means they have to add up to be 12. And 3 plus 9 is 12. So 3 and 9 are my factors. Or the quantity, x minus 3 times the quantity x minus 9 are my factors. Alright, now this is the last case, and this is when the last term is negative. When that last term is negative, it means one of my factors is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative. So, and let's see, if this was a plus 3 right here, then I would be looking for 2 numbers that multiply to give me 2. That is not going to work. It has to be a 1, a plus or minus 1. And they have a difference. So this is a 1. Change that example there with a 1. So the negative means that they have to have a difference of 1, and 2 minus 1 is 1, so they have a difference of 1. And since this 1 is positive, and since this number is positive right here, that means that my bigger term has to be positive. If the problem looked like this, that would mean last one's negative, so I know I'm going to have a plus and a minus, and it doesn't matter which one you write first, the plus or the minus. My factors of 2, once again, are 1 times 2. Shoot, like I said, this is a negative 1, sorry, not a 3. And they have to have a difference of 1. 1 and 2 have a difference of 1, and that means since it's negative, my bigger number has to be negative. My bigger number has the sign in the middle. Alright, here's one for us to try. So first of all, I'm going to factor into my 2 parentheses. And there's my variable I'm using, and this is a negative, so I'm going to have a positive and negative. Now I need to look at my factors of 18, so I have 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. And since this is a minus in front, I want the ones that have a difference of this number in the middle, which is 3. So my difference here is 17, my difference here is 7, my difference here is 3, so I want 3 and 6. And since this term in the middle is positive, that means my bigger factor should be positive, because when I FOIL this out, 6x, I multiply those, negative 3, I add those together, I get 3x in the middle. You can always check your answer by FOILing it out. Alright, here's another one. We're going to do this one together also. So I am factoring. Here's my 2 parentheses. I'm using an x, and this sign is negative, so I have a plus and minus sign here. And I'm looking for numbers that multiply to give me 20, 1 and 20, 2 and 10, 3 doesn't go into it, and 4 and 5. And because there's a minus in front of this 20, they have to have a difference of this number in front of the middle term, so they have to have a difference of 1. Difference of 19, difference of 8, difference of 1, so it's 4 and 5. Now this is a negative 1, so that means that the negative goes with my bigger number. And you can always FOIL it out to check your answer and see if you get what you started with. Alright, so to rewrite this to get it equal to 0, I'm going to subtract 6 from each side. And now my equation looks like this. And I cannot combine the 6 and the 5 together because the 6 doesn't have an x. Now that I have my problem like this, I'm going to factor using my rules for factoring a trinomial. So first of all, I have the variable x. This is negative, so one's plus, one's minus. I'm looking for factors of 6, which is 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. And because this is a minus sign, they have to have a difference of 5. 6 minus 1 is 5. 3 minus 2 is 1. So I need this term right here. So, and let's see. Since the 5 is positive, my bigger factor goes with the positive. Now I'm going to use the 0 product property to set both of my factors equal to 0. And I'm going to solve each one. So I'm going to add 1 to each side, so x equals 1, and I'm going to subtract 6, and x equals negative 6. So my solution set is 1, negative 6. If I plug either one of those numbers into this equation, I will get 0. Alright, we're going to end with a word problem. Let's see, a rocket is fired with an initial velocity of 2,288 feet per second. The formula h equals vt minus 16t squared gives the height of the rocket after t seconds when the initial velocity v is given in feet per second. How many seconds will it take the rocket to hit the ground? Well, here's our equation, and we want to know the time when h equals 0 and v equals 2,288. So we plug in 0 for h, and let me use blue for that, 0 for h and 2,288 for v, and then we're going to factor let's see, 2088 divided by 16. Aha. And what do you know? 16 goes into 2,288 143 times, so I can factor out 16t, and I'm left with 143 minus t. And that equals 0. So my zero product property, I can set t equal to 0. I divide by 16. That gives me t equals 0. That's at time 0, so that's not going to work. But 143 minus t equals 0. My other factor, I add t to each side, and I get t equals 143 seconds. So t equals 143 is the time at launch. Oh wait, t equals 0 is the time at launch, and t equals 143 is the time it takes the rocket to return to the ground. The end.